There's a moment every man dreads, not when you fail at something, but when you catch yourself thinking, screw it, nobody's looking anyway. If you're a guy in your mid-40s, 50s, maybe 60s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've had that thought. Probably this week. And here's what nobody tells you. It's not your age that's making you look older. It's 4 tiny daily habits you've developed without even realizing it. Habits that are quietly adding 10 years to how people see you. Look, I get it. At our age, comfort matters. You've earned the right not to care what people think. And I'm not here to tell you to chase trends or dress like someone half your age. But here's the thing. The guys who age well versus the guys who just age, it's not genetics, it's not money. It's 4 specific daily choices. Today, I'm breaking down all 4. And I promise you this, fixing them costs nothing. Takes minutes, not hours. And you can start with just 1 today. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one. Let's go. Habit number 1, wearing home clothes outside. First habit, and I see this everywhere, probably guilty of it myself last Tuesday. Wearing house clothes out in public. You know exactly what I mean. That college t-shirt from 1995 with the stretched out collar, sweatpants that have seen better days, flip-flops to run to the store. We've all done it. Now look, I'm not your wife. I'm not telling you to dress up for the grocery store. But here's what's actually happening when you do this. What's really going on? When you throw on whatever's closest and head out, you're sending yourself a message. This moment doesn't count. And when you do that, every day running errands, grabbing coffee, picking up the kids, those moments blur together. Pretty soon, nothing really counts. Here's what I've learned the hard way. How you dress changes how you carry yourself. When you're wearing sloppy clothes, your posture gets sloppy. The way you talk to people changes. You're basically apologizing for existing. And yeah, your wife notices even if she doesn't say it. Your kids notice. That buddy you ran into at Home Depot, he noticed. But the person who notices most, that's you. Even if you pretend you don't. The fix that actually works. You don't need a whole new wardrobe. You just need what I call your leaving the house baseline. For me, it's simple, a solid polo or button down. Navy gray white, nothing complicated. Dark jeans that fit, shoes that aren't destroyed. That's the rule. Leaving the house means changing from house clothes. Gas station meeting a buddy doesn't matter. Takes 3 minutes. And here's what's interesting, when you make that tiny effort, you stand differently. You make eye contact more. You're more present. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, because you showed up like your day matters. If this is hitting home, go ahead and hit that like button. Helps me know I'm talking to the right guys. Now, habit number 2 might be even more important. And most guys have no idea they're killing their look with this. Habit number 2, wearing old shoes because they still work. All right, shoes. This one's gonna sting because I'm calling myself out too. I'm talking about those shoes you've been wearing for, honestly, you don't even know how long. Heels worn down on one side, leather with those deep creases, soles smooth as glass. But you keep wearing them because they're broken in. Or, I paid good money for these back in 2015. Here's the brutal truth, shoes are one of the first things people notice. Everyone. Women, especially. You could be wearing a sharp shirt and nice jeans, but if your shoes look like they survived a war, it kills everything. Why this ages you fast. At our age, people aren't checking if we're fashionable. They're checking if we have our act together and beat up shoes. They tell a story. This guy stopped caring about details. The young guys can rock beat-up sneakers, that's their thing. For us, it reads as, I've given up. And I know that's not true. You just haven't thought about it. The 2-pair solution. You don't need 20 pairs. You need 2, maybe 3. Daily wear, clean leather sneakers, or decent casual shoes. Not expensive, just clean. Something you can wipe down weekly. When they start looking rough, replace them. No negotiating about one more season. Special occasions. 1 solid pair of leather shoes or boots. For dinner with your wife, family events when it counts. Polish them monthly. They'll last years because you're not destroying them daily. Maintenance, check your soles monthly. Worn weird leather, cracking time to replace. Here's the thing. A clean $80 pair beats a destroyed $300 pair every time. Because good shoes change how you walk into a room, Literally. You stand taller, move with more confidence. People pick up on that even if they can't articulate why. But shoes are just the surface. Habit 3 goes deeper, and this is where a lot of guys really start slipping. Habit number 3, letting go of grooming because nobody notices. This one's critical. Stay with me. I'm talking about grooming. All the stuff we slowly let slide. Hair that needed a cut 6 weeks ago. Beard that's less intentional style, and more forgot to deal with it. Wrinkled shirt because who cares, right? The justification is always the same. Who's gonna notice what? Or, I'm married, don't need to impress anyone. Or my favorite, I'm too old to worry about this stuff. But here's what shifted everything for me. And it hit me one day sitting in my car at a red light. The person who notices first. The person who notices first is you. Every time you catch yourself in a mirror, store window, phone camera, you see that unkempt version of yourself, and part of your brain registers it. Over time, that becomes your self-image. It affects how you walk into rooms, how confident you are in conversations, whether you feel like you belong in certain spaces. It's subtle, but it's always working. And look at this stage of life, grooming isn't vanity, it's discipline. Same as making your bed every morning, nobody sees it, but you know you did it. And that knowing matters more than you think. The non-negotiable basics. This isn't about elaborate routines. It's about basics you don't compromise on. Hair. Get it cut every 4 to 6 weeks. Book it as a standing appointment. Doesn't need to be expensive, just consistent. Gray hair looks distinguished when it's maintained, looks sloppy when it's overgrown. Facial hair. Pick a lane. Clean-shaven or proper beard. No middle ground where you look like you forgot to shave for 10 days. Got a beard. 5 minutes weekly trimming neckline and cheek lines. Clothes. If you're wearing it outside, it can't be wrinkled. Get a $30 steamer. 2 minutes to use. Stained or torn. Replace it. Stop keeping it for around the house. The details. Nose hair, ear hair, wild eyebrows. Keep them in check. Trim your nails. Basic stuff. But it compounds. Your Sunday routine. Sunday night. 5 minutes checking what you're wearing this week. Every morning, 30 seconds in the mirror before you walk out. Adjust what needs adjusting. Because you're not grooming for other people. You're doing it because every morning you're deciding, am I showing up or am I checking out? If you're getting value from this, drop a comment. Tell me which habit you're working on first. Now, the last habit is subtle. Most guys don't realize they're doing it, but it's probably the most revealing. Habit number 4. Choosing clothes by habit, not by purpose. Last one. And this is sneaky because it feels normal. Wearing the same type of outfit for everything. Coffee with a friend looks identical to going to work, looks identical to dinner with your wife. It all blurs together. Now, I'm not saying overthink every outfit, but here's what's happening when you're on autopilot with your clothes. Why this shows you've stopped engaging. When you wear the same thing everywhere, it signals you've stopped adapting to context. At our age, that reads as going through the motions. Think about it. You don't talk to your boss the same way you talk to your golf buddy. You don't act the same at a funeral and a barbecue. Why dress the same for everything? The question that matters, the one most of us stopped asking years ago, where am I going and how do I want to show up? That question beats any expensive piece of clothing you could buy. The 3-level system. You don't need more clothes. You need more intention with what you have. 3 simple levels. Level 1. Home. Comfortable. Old favorites. Broken in stuff. Nobody sees you. Be comfortable. Level 2. Every day. Your baseline. Clean polo or button down. Good jeans. Decent shoes. This is your standard for leaving the house. Level 3, meeting people. Step it up. Nice shirt, dark jeans or chinos, leather shoes. Maybe a blazer depending on the situation. Before getting dressed, 5 seconds. Where am I going? Who's going to be there? How do I want to come across? Real examples, coffee with an old friend. Not yard work clothes. Not a suit. Clean button-down dark jeans. Decent sneakers. You're saying, I valued this enough to show up right. Dinner with your wife. Not the same polo from the hardware store run. Something that says you're still worth effort. It's not about 50 different outfits. It's about 3 levels. And knowing when to use each. Because every time you get dressed, you're making a statement about whether what comes next matters. And at our age, people expect us to have this dialed in. When you dress with intention, it shows you're still engaged. That's the difference between aging well and just aging. All right, real talk for a second. When's the last time you actually prepared before walking out the door? Not for a wedding, not a job interview, just a regular Tuesday. When did that stop? Here's what I've figured out. None of us wake up and decide to let ourselves go. It happens in invisible increments. House clothes to the store once, then it's your thing. Skip one haircut, then another. 3 months later, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. One nobody's looking becomes a lifestyle. The truth. Getting older doesn't make you look old. Giving up does. Age gives you wisdom, experience, presence. But only if you carry yourself like someone who knows that. How you show up every day is a vote. For yourself or against yourself. Every morning you're choosing, am I engaged or am I just existing? The guys who age well aren't trying to look young. They're refusing to look defeated. Let's recap what we covered. 4 habits that age you. 1. Wearing house clothes outside. 2. Keeping shoes, way past their expiration. 3. Letting grooming slide because who cares? 4. Dressing on autopilot instead of with intention. Remember what I said at the start. That moment when you think nobody's looking anyway. That's the moment. That's when it starts. Here's the straight truth. Getting older doesn't make you look old. Giving up does. You're going to age. Not negotiable. But whether you age like a guy who still respects himself or like someone who's decided it doesn't matter, that's 100% your call. And that choice shows up in the small stuff. Every single morning. So here's what I want you to do. Pick 1 habit. Just 1. Maybe it's replacing those shoes this weekend. Maybe it's booking that overdue haircut. Maybe it's asking yourself tomorrow, how do I want to show up today? Start there. Drop a comment right now. Tell me which one you're starting with. I read every single one. If this resonated, share it with another guy who needs to hear it. Your brother, your buddy, whoever. Hit subscribe if you want more straight talk about aging well. No fluff, just practical advice for men like us. Because here's what it comes down to. Getting older is mandatory. Looking older is optional. Looking like you've quit, that's a choice. And I know you. You didn't come this far to start checking out now, so don't.